Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's Mental Health Matters here at Emmanuel Lutheran Church. A few weeks ago, we had talked about depression, right? Around the holidays, we know that can be an issue for a lot of folks. Today, what we wanted to talk about is we also know that people can just sometimes be sad. So not to be that it's all the way to the level of depression. And so, Shawn, just help us understand the difference today between somebody that when you're just feeling sad, maybe having a bad day, versus depression when we realize it may be a lot more severe and something more needs to be done?
That's a great question. It's probably one of the most frequently asked and explored questions in any discussion that I have with anybody, whether they're people I'm working with as a client or just somebody come up and saying, "Hey, this is going on in life. What do you think?" So we can have sadness that is reasonable when something sad occurs, and it could be something that includes even grief, which we've talked about before, that can go on for a period of time. A depressed mood can go with it, but that doesn't mean the person is necessarily suffering from a major depressive disorder. We can have a diagnosis of adjusting to a new time of life, a new frame of life, and it would actually be called that adjustment disorder. Uh, Most everybody goes through an adjustment disorder. This is going on. This is a change of life. It is very difficult. I'm not sure I like this a whole lot. And with it, they could say, well, I'm really anxious about this change of life, or I'm really sad about this change of life. And so a diagnosis, for example, then would be an adjustment disorder with anxiety, or an adjustment disorder with depression, or an anxiety and depression at the same time with adjustment disorder. So but it doesn't mean the person is being diagnosed with clinical depression, major depressive disorder. That is its own thing. The easiest way to tell the difference is this a normal set of life events, or an acute event in my life, or a chronic series of events or circumstance in my life that is actually making me feel sad, or like something's off, or it shouldn't be this way, and it brings me down, because that's normal. God gave us an intuition within ourselves to say something, and we've all heard it, we've all said it. Something doesn't feel right about this. And if somebody goes through years and years of a season in their life where that is happening, they could say, I have depression. I've had depression for years. That person may have had a depressed mood for years in a situation that shouldn't have been that way. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense versus somebody who has a major depressive disorder. And so I'll cap that off with a major depressive disorder, an actual diagnosis of depression, um, is when it doesn't make any difference that the circumstances did not warrant a depressed mood. And this is where a lot of people don't really see the difference there. And so this is an important place to try to draw that line.
Sure.
If you're in a place where life circumstances have not caused that in your life, where I've everything's going fine right now, this is a good season in my life, but at a certain point last week or last month, or beginning of last year or something, I've been brought down, and regardless of the efforts, I don't feel myself coming back up, whether something's going well or not. And
Sure.
that is when we start to look at an actual diagnosable or clinical depression. But
Gotcha.
people go through a lot of stuff, and they can be brought down, and they can feel down. Uh, and that's okay. God gave us the ability to say something feels wrong, and this doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah, I think that just thinking back on my own life, I know there was a season where actually I thought everything was fine. And it wasn't until there was a little bit of sitting with a counselor and kind of going through this list and can you identify with X number of things? And all of a sudden the realization was actually you are dealing with a depressed situation, because these things which you kind of just took to be normal parts of life. I guess one thing I'd like to see is just any suggestions that we would have then if you are just having that sad season. What are some things that a person might do, either reaching for help or some things to try to help combat some of that? Because since that is such a common thing, what are some things we might do to help either guard against or pull out of those kinds of things and just help cope with those in a healthy way? We know there's all sorts of unhealthy coping mechanisms that we have, different addictions and bad habits. But what are some good healthy things to do?
You're right. Where you ended there, you're right. And it's a really unfortunate part of our sinful nature is that we don't tend to say, "Oh no, I feel down. Let me figure out how to undo this." We tend to dwell in it.
Mm.
We feel more comfortable in that state because there's a risk in coming out of it,
And
and
denying it.
and
Yeah.
there's risk in reaching to someone else, and there's risk in someone else offering us a new thought that we now have to sow into our being to keep us out of that. And if you get good at it, trust me, the
Mm.
devil will help you not be good at it.
Mm.
Um, Evil will come in and try to confound our best intentions too.
Yeah.
But I would say do the opposite of what your human heart
Mm.
tells you. Your human heart says, turn off the lights, get under a blanket, and just be quiet. When in
Mm.
fact, a professional would say, get out of the blanket unless it's really cold, um, and put some bright clothes on. Find somebody that you can talk to, that relate to, that you're pretty sure has your best spiritual interest at heart,
Mm.
and talk to them. So that's exactly the opposite of what our spirit tells us. Especially us guys, our spirit tells us don't talk to anybody, don't trust
Yeah.
anybody. We're terrible and a failure if we talk to somebody, and no one can get it.
Yeah.
And that there, no one can get it. That's something that both men and women relate to usually, is that someone really doesn't understand this circumstance. That's how it is. But the truth is, we all go through many similar things,
All of us.
unique, of course, all of them unique, but we go through similar seasons and similar patterns. I would say find those people, especially if you know that they have your spiritual well-being at heart. There's nothing stronger than that, than using prayer, and that's the next thing. Once you're getting yourself out of bed, pray about this. God, take this from me. This isn't meant to be for me, and I know that, and I want to keep it because I'm a human being.
Mm.
So please take this away from me. And then ask Him and seek people that can hear your heart, can understand your heart, but won't let you stay where you are.
Great. Thank you. So I hear activity and connection, which are the things that we want to typically withdraw from. So
That's right.
great. Well, God's blessings to you. We know there's always going to be those moments in life where we have those seasons of sadness. And Shawn, thanks today for helping us differentiate. God's blessings to you. And of course, our offices are always open here at Emmanuel for Pastor Josh, myself, or Katie. For when you do have those moments and you need to talk, please reach out. God's blessings to you. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.